Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, party leader. My colleagues have spoken passionately about the challenges they face. One of the thoughts going through my head as I listened is that we need a government that ensures that there is a plan so that elected members of parliament don't have to rely on a hope and a prayer. 6 months after Hurricane Melissa devastated communities in Western Jamaica, there are just too many families who remain stranded in the ruins, not just of their homes, but of a recovery system that has failed them miserably. Today, all of us you see here, we are standing with those affected communities, urging immediate government action on systemic shortcomings, recovery gaps, and the urgent need for transparency. The official reports indicate that over 25,000 homes were damaged and 15,000 families displaced. The Ministry of Labour, through their roofs program, and in terms of what they're doing, the failure that we're seeing is therefore simply unacceptable. What is clear is that the processing grants on the roofs has faltered badly. The majority of affected families, as you would have heard, are unaware of their status and actually have no reliable system like a dedicated hotline or an online portal to ask questions or get updates. And so the request, the ask, that there is a system that allows individuals to actually come forward if they have not been assessed is one that is real. But first, they also have to know they have not been assessed, because the minister assured me that they don't have to be there on the ground to be assessed. And therefore, if individuals came into the community, I am going to assess if I live in that community. I am going to believe that I have been counted. If there's no way to determine who has been counted and who have not been counted, then it means that there's a big gap that should rest on the conscience of a government that has been elected to take care of its people. The current system being used, as you would have heard, create further distribution barriers, forcing rural residents to face long trips, as you would have heard, multiple visits, each costing money and time that could have been better used. These issues don't affect one parish, but the story is the same across several parishes, which therefore points to a systemic breakdown that real families endure every day. What is now clear as well is that the broader recovery also lags way behind the promises that were made by the government. In fact, many of us would have remembered that they committed at least 12,000 homes by January for grants and 2.5 billion in aid. Yet, we are learning that only 3,200 grants have been delivered, with 70% of the affected parishes still awaiting meaningful assistance. By any measure, by any yardstick, this is woefully inadequate. For those who have been assessed and have actually received grants, there's also still some clarity that is required. So, for example, how does a family whose house has been totally destroyed end up on the list of those getting $70,000 rather? How do they get on that particular list and not on the 500,000 list? How do individuals who live in a community, a yard with several houses, see their neighbors receiving grants and cannot get a response from the ministry, from the NIS office, from the parish office about where they fall, if they do, on any of those lists? And I suspect that for many of those, the issue of clustering is something that needs to be looked at. The issue of our ministers having an understanding about how everyday Jamaicans live and what constitutes a household becomes also something that we have to look at. This morning on the news, I heard a statement from the minister saying that they are only giving 1 grant to a household. And that's fine if that were to be true, because others will tell you that it's not. But let's assume that that is true. Then the question becomes, how do we define a household? And from everything that I'm picking up from the ground, some households have been made invisible by the system that the government is using. And I'm being generous, because others would say that some households have been made invisible because of the politics. The public has not been provided with explanations about the shortfalls that we're seeing. I've got no firm timelines to complete the distribution. And the result is that citizens who bear the burden are once again left in the dark and without answers. So today we are talking. Sometimes you get the sense that the government really wants from the opposition for us to be on our knees and to be begging for our constituents to get their just compensation. The Prime Minister says from time to time that the opposition only talks. The truth is that's our role, because we are in opposition. We are not the government in charge of government resources. Although many of you would have seen a lot of efforts that were done through charities and collaboration. But yes, we are talking, and we will continue to talk until we see action taken. Let's talk a little bit about the We Pay system, which was launched on January 30th with the National Payment Corporation of Jamaica for $500 million in disbursements, but which is obviously nowhere ready for broader rollout. What we have seen so far, that it has been operational about 20%. We have seen payouts funneled through one lone Montego Bay Western Union. Is that system set up and ready to serve other parishes? I believe that's a question we ask, and that's a response that we require, because we believe that it is wicked and unjust to pretend that this limited pilot can serve Jamaica-wide needs with families in St. Elizabeth, in St. Anne, in Hannibal, in Westbourne, in St. James, who are still in limbo. In fact, my information is that there are parishes where nothing has been put in place for it to be rolled out in those parishes. There's no QR code for anybody to get. Yeah? The back office isn't ready. And so what we're asking for is for the pretenses to end and for the government to come clean and tell us what is happening. If there are issues, let Jamaica know. Let those who are waiting on the government that was elected to know where you are and why it is that you are where you are and where we go for further. And so today we call upon the government to act decisively, to expedite the approval of roof grants with fully operational query hotlines and online portals that allow Jamaica to ask questions and to get answers. We're also asking for We Pay to be activated nationwide without further delay. And as I said earlier, we're asking for detailed parish by parish timelines and shortfall explanations. We want a commitment to weekly public reports on remedies and progress. No vague promises. We want deliverable measurable results, or the government needs to move out of the way those who have been tasked with this responsibility, who are obviously failing. We are aware that Minister Charles is in Finland as we speak, and there is an 8 hours time difference. So I would urge the minister to stay up tonight and to put in some work on behalf of Jamaicans who have been left devastated. To the minister, we say it's time to prioritize people over public relations. Jamaica's recovery depends on accountable, transparent, and fair leadership. And since we're talking about accountability and transparency, Jamaicans are also asking about the Support Jamaica portal that was launched to mobilize donations and ensure accountability. Although the site is supposed to provide real-time tally of funds raised, this is not visible from the dashboard. And so the government needs to indicate where that information can be accessed, how do Jamaicans track donations received, and how those donations are being disbursed. Too many Jamaicans are suffering without a meaningful pathway to restore order and dignity to their lives and those of their children. Every time, I just want you, as I leave, to leave you with this picture. Every time rainfall or rain even set up in many of these communities, these individuals relive the trauma of Melissa. I am asking Jamaica to be vocal about it, to ask the government if they are okay with that level of trauma day in, day out with Jamaicans who have done nothing wrong for which they should be punished, who elected a government that they thought would be able to act transparently, fairly, and on time. What we need is action now, not a bag of noise.